Team, how's it going? I'm here to talk to you about The Day of the Jackal. The Day of the Jackal. It's the new thriller, action thriller, espionage thriller. That's a series, maybe a limited series, I guess. Maybe they're just going to do it once on Sky and Now TV. Starring Eddie Redmayne, Lashana Lynch, and Ursula Corbero, who was in Money Heist. And I went to the premiere of this. They do premieres for TV now. Thanks, Game of Thrones. I went to the premiere of this last night. And, well, I'm actually talking to you on Wednesday, the 23rd of October. This is me from the past. And that's because I'm embargoed to review it properly until release, basically. So I thought, I'll just post this when they actually come out. So as of now, today, they are out. The first 5 episodes of The Day of the Jackal are out. 7th of November. Hello! So I'm going to talk to you about what I thought. So straight off the bat, it's a remake of a film from the 70s, and that film is a imagining of a book of all of the same name. So they're remaking it as a series. I think it's like loosely based on both. I imagine the story's been iterated on a bit. It can't just be one book for a whole series. Maybe it could be. Anyway, don't give a fuck. What I was told going in is that it's kind of Eddie Redmayne's audition for Bond. Immediately I was like, I don't really want Eddie Redmayne to be Bond, regardless of how good he is in this. Anyway, it turns out he's very good, but I still don't want him to be Bond. So this film is basically pitting hunter against hunted. Now, we've seen this many, many times before. We've certainly seen Hunter in things such as The Killer and the Jason Bourne films and whatnot. But Hunter versus Hunted is also a very well-trodden path, also in things like the Jason Bourne films, because it's just like, CIA looking for Jason Bourne, essentially. This is the same. It's MI6 looking for the Jackal, who is Eddie Redmayne. So we watched episode 1 of that, which is essentially the Jackal, who is not yet named the Jackal, performing a hit, and MI6 getting wind of this and starting to help the investigation. And Lashana Lynch works at MI6. And it is enjoyable. The reason why I mentioned the premise and its influences in modern cinema, for example, like Bond and Bourne, is that it does feel like a slightly tired, well-trodden path, I would say. Even if the book was written at a time where maybe it wasn't, and the first film was written at a time where maybe it wasn't. So I don't want to use that to penalise it, but I will say that it does feel maybe 10 years too late. We're decades have gone by since the peak of Daniel Craig's Bond, since the peak of Jason Bourne, since the peak of Taken, and even the kind of Taken copycats like Nobody, and then we get John Wick and stuff, and we're so meta in the kind of action hitman thriller genre. We've iterated on it so many times that I kind of sat down thinking, what can this do that's different? It looks like not that much. So you've got, masks and disguises a la Mission Impossible. You've got secret agency service against trying to find some kind of lone wolf like Jason Bourne. And you've got a British espionage agent traveling around to very exotic locations like James Bond. It is an amalgamation of these things. And that's not a bad thing, because I love all of those things. But that's just to say, it doesn't really feel like you're going to get anything necessarily new in regards to the setup and the premise. Who knows? Maybe the following episodes you do. In terms of objectively this episode, regardless of those influences and the wider context of the book and whatnot, this episode, it was entertaining. It really was entertaining. So I don't really want to give away spoilers. I mean, this whole wait until the embargo's finished is kind of so I could give spoilers. I don't really want to, only to say that it's the trailer shows it a hit, and it starts off with that hit, and then he's not necessarily on the run, it's just kind of like going back to his normal life. And it is really engaging to watch him carry out that hit, and it's got all those tropes of like the surgical, routine, militant hitman, you know, like in The Killer, where it's like his gun perfectly folds into his suitcase and he's got the perfect plan to get out in the perfect rundown car and go to a car park and change into a new car, and he's got the perfect plan because he's the perfect hitman. And I'm just like, what world are we in? Because there seems to be a lot of perfect hitmen out there. Okay, is this in the same world as Jason Bourne and The Killer and James Bond? Are they all pissing around in the same world? Because they're all very good at what they do. So it's entertaining. It's certainly entertaining. But having loved The Killer on Netflix by David Fincher and other Bournes and Bonds, it's got a lot to live up to. It's got a lot to live up to. And I don't know if it reaches those dizzy heights necessarily yet, but that's not to say that it can't in the later episodes. Like I said, the first 5 are released as I post this, so who knows? I guess the question is, will I be watching the rest of the show? The answer is yes. I am going to continue watching 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll see how we go with this block, and then they're going to release more as time goes on. There isn't just 5 for the whole series. And I do like the performances in it. I like all the performers in it, the stars in it. I think that it has potential to be engaging and relatively tense and entertaining. I don't see it reaching any kind of like dizzy heights, any kind of like treading creatively new ground, or being revolutionary in any way, either in the genre or in TV. But Sky and Now TV, last night's premiere was very glitzy. I haven't been to many proper premieres, and it was a proper one last night for a TV show. They're putting a lot of money behind it. They'd rented out the South Bank Centre, rented it out. It's funny to say that. We were in the South Bank Centre. There's a full red carpet situation, interviews, press. Like, they're really pushing it. And based off the first episode being pretty entertaining, that makes me think the rest of the season must be pretty fucking good. Otherwise, they would bury it. And we all know that channels can bury programs big time. Like, I saw that Colin Farrell had released a fucking, like a private investigator drama on Apple TV. Didn't have a fucking clue. Didn't have a clue. Like, whereas The Penguin has been pushed pretty big, to be honest. Obviously, it's DC and whatnot, but anyway. Yeah, so they're pushing it, which generally means something is good. They're giving it a big premiere, which generally means something is good. Because trust me, and as you well know as well, if something is bad, they will bury it, and they'll bury it hard. They won't do press screenings, they won't do premieres, they won't do promo, they won't do adverts, but they'll put it out there and hope that it makes some ad revenue, right? This is not that. They're really pushing this, and that is a good thing. I think it's worth trying, I think is the summary. And thanks to Now TV for the invite to the premiere. Very, very fancy. Next stop is like I've never been invited to like a big film release premiere. Not yet. So follow me on Letterboxd if you got this far, because that means you're one of my fellow film nerds. I'm on Letterboxd. My website has all the links to everything. I've also got a YouTube show called FREDFLIX, which is this is tied to, and it's interviewing guests, and I'm going to be starting some really fun new segments with I don't want to mention it actually, but we're going to start some really good stuff. So subscribe if you haven't already. And Day of the Jackal, episode 1. I'll rate TV completely different to film, because it's just a different brain space for me. So I give it an 8 out of 10, because for me, I don't watch many things and think, oh, I'll watch the second episode. And I did. So 8 out of 10. Thanks. See you next time.